Hello, friend. Join me for another walk as we talk about professional identity crisis. Have you experienced it? Well, I have. And this happens in many different settings. But today I'm just going to talk about the setting as a newcomer to a new country, as an immigrant to a new country. And I've experienced this in many different ways. So, as a professional in my country, Bolivia, I was a previous nurse, a teacher at the university, and then I was living in the United States where I studied a career in early child education. I was secure in my identity as a professional, and I was joyful and happy about it. And I have served many years doing this lovely profession. So when I came to Canada and I went through the whole process, and at the end, basically I was told I need to go to school again. At that time, I decided I had already been struggling to be a resident and be able to work as a nurse. So it had been a long time that I was in that dream, and I decided to let it go. But one of the things that I did not realize at that time was that my identity as a person was tied very tightly to my identity as a professional. And this is true for a lot of professionals that have a high level of education. Our identity in the community, we are known a lot of times by our titles. And so this kind of became part of who I was. And when I was no longer working as a nurse here in Canada, you cannot use the word nurse unless you are licensed. And so I had to let that go as well. And that was a really difficult part of my life. I realized that it hit me so hard to lose that part of my life. It was a real mourning. I cried about it. I suffered a long time about it. I was bitter about it. I could have chosen not to let it go. It was my choice. But I was so sad for a long time about it. And I have friends that are that have other educational experiences. Like I have friends that are doctors that go through something very similar. You know, they're seen as outstanding members of society where they get recognition because what they do is a very important part of society. And so then coming to Canada, and if you're not able to work in your profession, what happens is that we end up working in what we call survival jobs. And that means that you may be working in cleaning, as I was the first job that I had, cleaning houses. So there's this disconnect from who you were and who you are now. And this is even more evident because you not only go through it alone, but you also go through it with other people, because most anybody that meets you wants to know who you are. And so they ask you, what do you do? And so there's this disconnect of what you do now and what you did before. And if you're an immigrant and you've talked to another immigrant, you will know that this is a very frequent part of our conversation. We say, I used to do this and now I do this. But then when you say, now I do this, it's kind of with a sad feeling, like you have lost something so valuable. And that was the reality for me as well. I realized that we all lose a lot by coming and being a newcomer to Canada. And that is maybe a part of experience that nobody really tells you. Because we mostly share the good parts of Canada. We mostly share the beauty and the opportunities. And that's what we focus on. But today I wanted to share this because I know that there are other newcomers that are struggling with professional identity crisis. And I know how hard it is for me and how hard it is for several of my friends. And I will understand that it won't be easy for you as well. But it is part of our journey. It is part of our experience in Canada. There has been studies mostly with doctors and professionals in the IT field, and it is enlightening to know that how they feel, because it's very similar to how my friends and I feel as well. There's somebody that said, I was a doctor back home. Here, I am nothing. Now that hits hard because that's kind of how I felt as well. Working as a cleaner, I felt like I was a nobody. But one of the things that really helped me in this journey is changing my mind, because we get stuck on the negative. Like, I can no longer do this, whatever it is. I can no longer be this, whatever it is. And that's what we get stuck on, sometimes for a long time. But give yourself the opportunity to shift your mindset to something different. And for me, one of the things was realizing that even though I was doing a menial job that anybody could do without any experience and education, that I could do this one thing to the best of my capabilities. So I could be a really good cleaner. One of the things that I remember is the person that I was cleaning the house for, they gave me a lot of beautiful compliments, like, this window had never been done and you're the first person that cleaned it. So they had another person before. And I really took pride in doing even those menial tasks the best way I knew how. Then as a caregiver, which I've worked as a caregiver for many years, I chose to stay in a field similar to what I knew. And a lot of medical professionals do the same. They look for another job which is even close to the area where they're familiar with. So there's many people that were doctors back in their country. They choose to work in the hospital, even though it's transporting beds or helping and visiting the patients, just having conversations, or just being a volunteer. They choose to do that because it gives them that sense of connection with what they know. And I understand it perfectly, because I chose to be a caregiver because it was one of the most similar things that I could find to being a nurse. And I have been loving my job, and I have learned to see it as the best path for me right now. When I think about it, I could be a nurse and make a lot more money. I could probably be further along in my financial freedom. Maybe I wouldn't have any mortgage debt anymore. I don't know. But when I see myself as a caregiver, I see also all the flexibility that I have. I have really beautiful colleagues. I have beautiful employer, beautiful client, and I love what I do. And I can also say that because of all the flexibility that I have, I enjoy my life a lot more. I'm thinking that if I were a nurse and I would be working in the clinical setting right now, that I would probably be a lot more stressed, because that is the life of a nurse. There's so many things around you that are so important in terms of responsibility, that I remember how it was when I was a nurse. So right now, it's a trade-off. I could be a nurse and I could probably be very stressed right now, but right now I'm very relaxed and I'm very flexible in terms of my job, and I'm allowed to do many things that I would not be able to do if I were working maybe in the clinical field. So yes, there's always trade-offs. Let me leave you with three things that helped me really to navigate this part of my journey. One of them is to be grateful for where I am right now, and to be grateful that I am a caregiver. I am capable of having a lot of flexibility in my life, not too many responsibilities, that my job is slow paced and I am able to do many beautiful things for my client, and I am able to also continue progress of learning and developing myself. The second one is the reality that I choose this. I choose this. I choose where I am now. I choose to be a caregiver. This is my choice. This is my choice. And you have to know that you have a choice too. I could decide to go back to Bolivia and be a nurse there. I have the license. I could decide to go back to the States and become a nurse there. I have the license. But the reality is that I am here and I choose to live here in Canada. I choose to work here as a caregiver. And you have a choice too. Whatever it is, you always have a choice. The third thing is that you have capacities. Maybe capacities greater than your job requires. That's true. But you have the capacity to do something great. So just because you have been told, no, you can't, you can't be a nurse, or you can't be a doctor, or you can't be whatever it is that you want to be, you are capable of doing great things. You have the capacity, you have the education, and you have the experience. You have done many great things already. So one of them is the belief that you can do anything you choose to. Even the profession that you once had, if you really want to pursue it, you can. But you can do other great things as well. And right now, I am in a transition period. After 10 years, I am transitioning to something new, something different, because I know that even though I am getting close to 50, it is never too late to start something. It is never late to learn something different, something new. And right now, I want to start my digital marketing journey. That's what I have envisioned for myself. So you are capable of doing anything that you want. So those are the three things that I want to leave you with. So feel empowered, feel that love and gratefulness for yourself, for your journey where you are right now. I hope you have a great week, friend. Till next time.